Today, I'm going to talk about how to take pictures on a manual mode. So, tune in. What's up, everyone? You good? This is Hyunmin Jung from HMJ Photography. Welcome to my second episode and thank you. Today, I want to talk about how to take pictures on a manual mode. But first off, I want to tell you one thing, and it's that taking pictures on automatic mode is not all that bad. Because think about this. You find a perfect moment to take a picture of, and you'll do all the settings on a manual mode, and when you realize, the moment is gone. On the other hand, you take your camera out, it's on automatic mode, and boom, snap, you got your picture. Although you may not be completely happy about your picture, at least you got something. Having a picture taken is much better than not having a picture. However, the reason you might want to consider taking picture on manual mode is that you have so much more creative control over your pictures. I understand that a lot of people think that manual mode is very difficult, but guess what? It's easy. And very soon, you'll be able to take pictures like this. There are only 3 things you need to know to start shooting manual, and that is 1. ISO, 2. F-stop, and 3. Shutter speed. Photography is all about capturing the light of the moment, and all these 3 points are to do with lights. First, ISO. ISO is a sensitiveness to the lights, and the higher the ISO, the more sensitive your camera sensor is going to become to the light. So, long story short, low ISO, dark, high ISO, bright. So, when you're outside on a sunny day or inside with a lot of lights, you can keep that ISO to a lower ISO. But when you're in a dark situation, you need to bump up that ISO to a higher ISO. High ISO sounds great, right? But one downfall is that the higher the ISO, the grainier and noisier your pictures will become. So basically, you want to keep the ISO as low as possible, unless it's too dark and you need to bump up the ISO, or you want that grain as your artistic choice, like this. Secondly, f-stop. F-stop is how much light your lens will let it go through. The higher the f-stop is, the less light it will allow to let it go through. For example, with this lens, the lowest f-stop is 1.4 and the highest f-stop is f16. Take a look at this. This is when the lens is wide open to f1.4, and this is when the lens is closed all the way to f16. The most important thing you need to remember about f-stop is that it determines how much of the area will be in focus. So the lower the f-stop is, the more light it will take in, but the less area will be in focus. On the other hand, the higher the f-stop, the less light it will allow to let in, but the more area will be in focus. Usually, when you take portraits, you want to keep the f-stop to be lower because you want to focus on their eyes and the background to be blurry. On the other hand, when you take pictures like scenery or street photography, you want to bump up that f-stop to somewhere around 8 so that more things will be in focus. Thirdly, shutter speed. Shutter speed is the length of time you let the light in. So the shorter the shutter speed is, the less light will come in, and the longer the shutter speed is, the more light will come in. When the shutter speed is fast, you can really freeze the moment and take a picture like this. On the other hand, when the shutter speed is slow, you can capture the motion of your subject and take pictures like this. When the shutter speed is slow, it takes in more motions, which means your photos can become very shaky. Let's say you want to take a picture in 1/30th of a second. It sounds fast enough, but if you or your subject moves, it will be a shaky photo like this. So, I explained about 3 key elements to know. 1. ISO, 2. F-stop, 3. Shutter speed. With this, you decide on what kind of picture you want to take and adjust the settings accordingly. Let's say you want to take a picture like this. I really wanted this picture to be clean and most things in the frame to be in focus. So I set my ISO to 50 and f-stop to 9. Both these settings have elements to make the picture darker. So I had to compensate it with the shutter speed. So I set the shutter speed to 1/80th of a second, which is not as fast as I wanted it to be, but fast enough. Next example is this. I really wanted to capture the motion of water flowing in this waterfall. So I went kind of over the top and set the shutter speed to 30 seconds, which means the camera will keep letting the light in for 30 seconds. That is a lot of light. So I set the ISO to the lowest possible setting, which is 50, and f-stop to 22, which is the highest possible f-stop for the lens I was using. Lastly, take a look at this one. In this picture, it was very dark atmosphere, but I didn't want my subject to be shaky and blurry. So I set the shutter speed to 50th of a second and f-stop to 2.5, which means I had to bump up the ISO to 3200. Yes, it's grainy, but in this kind of situations, I like to have grains to show the roughness. Well, that's it for today, guys. I really hope this video can help you take pictures on a manual mode. Now all you need is practice, so grab your camera and shoot. Soon you'll be fully confident taking pictures on a manual mode. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Until next time.